My parents took my college money and gave it to my sister's useless boyfriend. Why waste money on someone who doesn't matter? My mom laughed and said, "At least he has a future, unlike you." My dad joined in, and my sister called me a failure. They watched me leave with smiles on their faces. But today, my phone rang with 27 missed calls and upset voicemails. I, 24 years old male, still remember the moment everything changed. It was a normal Tuesday evening when I checked my college fund account, the one my grandparents set up for me before they died. It was supposed to have $80,000 for my education, but now it showed 0. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I called the bank, my hands shaking as I dialed the numbers. The bank worker confirmed what I feared. My parents emptied the account 3 days ago. They were joint account holders until I turned 25, which my grandparents thought would help manage the money better. I drove to my parents' house right away. My childhood home looked different now, almost scary. My sister Cecilia's car was in the driveway, along with a red Mustang that I knew belonged to her. Boyfriend, Rory. Of course he was there, always talking about his big business ideas. The scene I walked into will stick in my mind forever. They were sitting around the table. Mom, Dad, Cecilia and Rory, looking like they were having a party. There were 4 wine glasses and fancy takeout, along with that annoying look on Rory's face that I had come to dislike. "Where's my college fund?" I asked, skipping the small talk. The room went silent, but it was a different kind of quiet, not the kind that feels awkward when someone gets caught. This was the quiet before someone tells you what they really think. My mom took a slow sip of her wine and said, "Oh, you finally noticed. We were wondering when you'd figure it out." "Figure what out? That you stole $80,000 from me?" My voice was calm, but my fists were tight. "Don't be so dramatic, Gunnar," Cecilia said, rolling her eyes. "The money is being used for better things now." That's when I saw papers on the table. Business plans and investment, documents with Rory's name on them. "You gave my college fund to him?" Everything clicked in my mind, and I felt sick. "Rory has a real chance at success," my dad said, putting his arm around Rory. "His business plan is solid. He just needs money to start, unlike some people who waste their time dreaming about being a programmer." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That money was for my education. Why waste money on a nobody? My mom's words hurt. "You've been talking about coding for 2 years, and what do you have? A dead-end job and some online classes. At least Rory has a future." My dad laughed and raised his glass. "He's going places. What's your plan? Sitting in a basement typing all day?" Cecilia added, "Face it, Gunnar, you're a failure. Rory will take this money and make something great. In a year, this will be the best choice Mum and Dad ever made." I looked at Rory, who was trying to hide a smirk. This guy had never had a real job, always jumping from one quick money scheme to another. This was who they chose over their own child. "You're going to regret this," I said quietly. Not as a threat, but just saying the truth. "What are you going to do about it?" Rory said confidently, "Sue your own parents, go ahead. The money's already gone." "We did you a favor," my mom added. "Maybe this will wake you up to reality. Stop chasing silly dreams and do something important with your life." I looked at their faces, my mom's hate, my dad's indifference, my sister's mockery, and Rory's satisfaction. At that moment, something changed inside me. I felt my loyalty snap. Without saying anything more, I turned and left. I could hear them laughing behind me, probably proud of putting me in my place. They thought I would cry or beg, but that's not who I am. I got in my car and drove to my apartment. On the way, I made 2 calls. The first was to quit my IT support job. I needed something with better hours for what was coming next. The second was to sign up for a full-time coding boot camp that I had been looking into, the one I had planned to use my college fund for. They thought taking my money would defeat me, but they had no idea what they created. I had already learned the basics of programming online. Now I had nothing to lose and everything to prove. This isn't going to be a story about fights or lawsuits. I'm not wasting my energy fighting for money that's already gone. This is a story about patience, determination, and smart success that is better than revenge. They can laugh at my dreams? Fine. They can steal my future? Okay. They want to bet on Rory's business skills? Perfect. I opened my laptop and began making plans. I would give them what they wanted, a front row seat to watch their golden boy succeed. And when everything falls apart, I'll make sure they remember every laugh, every mean word, and every moment of tonight. Time to get busy. Update 1. It's been 2 years since I left my parents' house, and I haven't spoken to them since. No texts, no calls, just silence. But let me tell you, karma is knocking on their door. You remember Rory, my sister Cecilia's boyfriend? The one who was going to change the local fitness world with his fancy gym idea. Yeah, that didn't go well. Through friends' Instagram stories, I've seen the gym. It's almost empty most days. Turns out people aren't excited about his expensive gym in our working-class neighborhood. Who would have thought? But I'm not here to brag. I want to share what I've been doing because something interesting happened. The last 2 years were tough. I moved into a tiny studio apartment that barely fit a bed and a desk, lived on ramen, and worked 2 jobs. Mornings at a warehouse and evenings at a convenience store. Every spare minute went into learning to code, YouTube tutorials, free online courses, practice projects, you name it. My second-hand laptop worked well enough. 6 months later, I got my first freelance job building websites for local businesses. The pay was bad, but I needed the experience. Every dollar I earned went into a coding bootcamp I had researched. 12 weeks of intense training, networking, and building projects. I barely slept, but I finished at the top of my class. Here's the exciting part. 3 months ago, I got a junior developer job at a growing tech startup. The pay isn't huge, but it's the most I've ever made. I'm still in that same tiny apartment, still driving my old Honda. Every extra dollar goes into savings and investing. I learned the hard way. Never let anyone else handle your money. Last week, I was scrolling through LinkedIn when I saw something interesting. Rory was trying to get money for his next big idea. He messaged every investor and business contact in our area. Apparently, the gym was losing money, and he needed a new start. But here's the twist. He's using my parents' house as a guarantee for loans. My sister moved in with him 6 months ago, and they think they're living in a dream of future success. I've made some good connections in our local tech community. Nothing big, just helping others with their projects and being part of the community. People know me as the quiet guy who gets things done, and now those connections are paying off in ways I didn't expect. Yesterday, I overheard something at a local tech meetup. 2 potential investors were discussing Rory's pitch. They liked his charm, but wanted to check things out first. One of them asked me about the local fitness market, since I had built websites for a few gyms. I didn't lie. I just shared public info about his gym's performance and mentioned how he jumps from one idea to another. The investors thanked me and left. Later that morning, my phone went crazy with notifications. My sister posted a long rant on Facebook about fake friends and betrayal. Apparently, those investors backed out, not just them, but 3 other potential partners too. News spreads fast in small business circles. Then came the calls. First from my sister, then my mum, and then numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I went to the gym, not Rory's, of course. I had a great workout and treated myself to a good breakfast. The voicemails they left were interesting. My sister was crying about how they needed help, how Rory was stressed and taking it out on everyone. Mom was trying to guilt-trip me about family loyalty. Dad just sounded mad, probably realizing that $80,000 wasn't coming back. But here's the thing, I'm not doing anything to them. I'm focused on my own success, being honest when asked, and letting things happen naturally. My colleague mentioned there might be a senior developer position opening soon. I'm putting in extra hours, learning new skills, and getting ready for the opportunity. I won't lie. Part of me enjoys seeing their carefully built dreams starting to fall apart, but I'm not going to push them. They will do that on their own. For now, I'll keep building my own future. My savings are growing, my career is moving up, and I sleep well knowing I did it all myself. No help, just hard work. Funny how life works. They thought they were ruining my future, but they just showed me what I needed to avoid in life. And now, I'm curious to see what happens next because this story isn't over yet. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and karma is really doing its job. For those who missed the earlier posts, I'm the guy whose parents took my $80,000 college fund and gave it to my sister, Cecilia's boyfriend, Rory, for his amazing business idea. Then they told me I was worthless and would never succeed. Quick recap. I spent 2 years working hard, finished a coding bootcamp, got a good job, and didn't talk to my family. No calls, no texts, blocked everywhere. The only updates I got were from friends and gossip. Now, here's the interesting part. Last month, I was browsing LinkedIn when I saw Rory's profile. This guy was trying to get investors for his new subscription box service for luxury, pet accessories. The same guy who spent my college money on his failed smoothie delivery business was now trying to change the pet care world. I recognized one of the investors he was contacting. It was someone I had worked with on a freelance job. One message later, and I had all the details about Rory's pitch meeting. The best part, he was using my stolen college fund as proof of his past success with investors. So I did what anyone would do. I made some calls, sent some emails, and shared the truth about his past business attempts with potential investors. Nothing illegal, just honest. Reviews from customers and proof of his failed businesses. Within a week, every investor in our area knew exactly who they were dealing with. Then my phone went crazy. First came Cecilia's upset voicemail. "How could you do this to us? Rory was about to get funding. We were counting on this money. Mom and Dad are mad." I let it go to voicemail. Then another message came and another. "You piece of..." Rory's voice was shaking. "You ruined everything. I had them ready to invest. I know it was you spreading lies." The next day, I bumped into an old friend who works at the local bank. It turns out Rory and Cecilia were trying to get a business loan using my parents' house as backup. That wasn't going to happen. Then came the big family dinner, which I didn't attend but heard all about from my cousin who was there. Apparently, Rory finally admitted he had spent not just my college fund, but also the money my parents had put into his new venture. Cecilia screamed about how he promised they would be millionaires by now. Mom threw a plate. Dad's future son-in-law finally blamed everyone else for his failures. The best part? My parents' friends are starting to ask questions. All those times they bragged about their brilliant son-in-law and his successful businesses are coming back to haunt them. It turns out the country club crowd doesn't like people who steal from their own children. Yesterday, I got a text from Mom. "We need to talk. What you're doing isn't right. We're family." I sent back a screenshot of my old bank statement showing the empty college fund, followed by, "I guess I learned about business from watching Rory, taking what isn't mine and calling it an investment opportunity." Cecilia came to my apartment this morning. I didn't let her in, but I could hear her crying through the door about how Rory was thinking of moving back in with his parents, how they might have to sell their car, how everything was falling apart. She begged me to fix this. "Remember when you called me a pathetic nobody?" I said through the door. "Funny how things change." She started yelling that I was ruining her life, that Mom and Dad were right. I was worthless and jealous, trying to ruin everyone's happiness because I couldn't stand to see others succeed. The neighbors probably got a good show. I just turned up my music and went back to working. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a LinkedIn notification. A recruiter wanting to talk about a senior position. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dad's last message came this evening. "You've made your point. Now stop this childish revenge game. We thought we were doing what was best. Rory had a real future." I replied, "He still does, just not the one you wanted." Then I opened my investment app and checked my growing savings, almost back to $180,000. Turns out hard work and real skill beat quick money and stolen cash. I'm not finished yet. This isn't just about money, it's about watching them realize what they threw away. From what I hear, Rory has 3 more investor meetings coming up next week. It would be a shame if they all got anonymous emails about his history. Some might say I'm being petty, but I learned from the best, my own family. Final update. Thank you all for your amazing support on my previous posts. A lot has happened in the past month, and I promised to update when everything was settled. Well, it finally is. For those who need a reminder, I'm the guy whose parents took my $80,000 college fund to give to my sister. Cecilia's boyfriend, Rory, for his new business idea. When I confronted them, they laughed at me and called me a nobody, while my sister said I was a failure. 2 years of silence and hard work later, I built my own success and stopped. Rory's attempts at starting new businesses by warning potential investors about his history. Now for the big finale. Last week, Rory's latest business completely fell apart. He got my parents to refinance their house to invest in his dropshipping business. Spoiler alert, it failed big time. The best part, I didn't even have to do anything this time. His own mistakes did all the work. My phone started blowing up on Tuesday. 27 missed calls, lots of voicemails, texts from numbers I didn't recognize. My sister was crying in one message about how they were losing everything. My mom's voicemail was a mix of crying and begging. My dad, who's always been tough, left a message that made me laugh. Son, we made a huge mistake. Please help us fix this. But here's where it gets interesting. I decided to show up at their house without telling them. The look on their faces when they opened the door was priceless. My dad looked 10 years older, and my mom's nice clothes were replaced with old sweatpants. Cecilia was there too, mascara running down her face. Where's Rory? I asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. He left, Cecilia said, choking up. He took the rest of the business money and disappeared. I sat down in my dad's favorite chair, the one I was never allowed to use as a kid. The silence was loud, so I said, pulling out my phone, let me get this straight. You refinanced the house you've lived in for 30 years, the house you raised us in, to give money to a guy who couldn't even keep a job for 3 months. My mom tried to speak, but I held up my hand. No, you don't get to talk right now. 2 years ago in this room, you laughed at me, called me worthless, said I had no future. Remember that? We were wrong, my dad said, looking down. Wrong doesn't even begin to cover it, I said, standing up. You know what I did after you betrayed me? I worked 3 jobs, lived in a tiny room, taught myself to code, and built something real, not some quick money scheme. Cecilia tried to interrupt, but I kept going. You want to know how successful your pathetic nobody of a son is now? I just bought a house, not just any house. The one on Maple Street you've been dreaming about for years. My mom's face turned pale. They had saved for years to buy that house. I'm turning it into a rental property, I continued. I already have tenants lined up. Good people who deserve a nice place to live. You can't be serious, my dad said. Dead serious. And the best part? I paid cash, no loans, no refinancing, no begging for help. Because unlike some people, I built something real. Cecilia started yelling, calling me cruel and heartless. Rich coming from her, considering everything. My mum tried to grab my arm, pleading about family. I stepped back. Family? I laughed. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't mock their own. You're not my family. You're just people I used to know. Finally, my dad lost it. We made one mistake, he shouted. One mistake. No, I said, heading for the door. You made a series of choices. Now you live with them, just like I had to live with what you did to me. As I walked out, my mum chased after me onto the porch. Please, she begged. We can fix this. We can be a family again. I turned around one last time. You know what's funny? I'm grateful for what you did. It showed me who I am and what I can do. It taught me that I don't need any of you to succeed. Consider this my thank you note. The next day, I posted pictures on Instagram, me getting the keys to the house, signing the rental agreement, and a view from the master bedroom. I tagged everyone in the family. Old neighbors and friends started commenting right away. The gossip spread quickly, and my phone blew up with messages. Family saying I was cruel, friends saying I went too far. But here's the thing, I don't care. I didn't do this for revenge. I did it to show them who they threw away. The nobody they laughed at now owns their dream house. Success really is the best revenge. To everyone who followed my story and supported me, thank you. Your messages helped me through tough times. To anyone else going through something similar, don't get mad, get better. Work hard, build something real, and when you succeed, make sure they see it. I won't be updating again. This part of my life is finally over. Time to focus on what's next. If you enjoyed this Reddit story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey.